Welcome to the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing for Friday, August 14th. Over the next couple of days, we will see lightning increase along the western side of the Great Basin. Today, very isolated storms are expected over the southern Sierra front, generally south of I-80, and will be a mix of wet and dry. We also will have some continued breezy winds over southern Idaho into Wyoming, with wind gusts around 25 miles per hour and relative humidity below 16%. As we move through Saturday and Sunday, we will see thunderstorms expand in coverage and further north over northwest Nevada on Saturday, and then possibly up into southwest Idaho and northern Nevada on Sunday. Again, these thunderstorms will be a mix of wet and dry, and there's still some question with coverage, but lightning increasing in these areas certainly will increase initial attack with large fires possible, especially with very gusty outflow winds. We'll also see record heat developing through the weekend into early next week across much of the Great Basin. Over the last 24 hours, we haven't seen any lightning across the Great Basin or showers. And we did have light initial attack yesterday in the Great Basin. However, we did have a new large fire over northeast Nevada, the Pine Fire, and then smaller fires reported over the northern half of the area. Over the last 14 days, we've seen very dry conditions across the Great Basin with only some showers and some precipitation on the light side associated with lightning activity over parts of the northern half of the Great Basin. However, still continued very dry conditions persist over the southern half of the region. And this explains why ERCs are still quite high and well above records for the time of year over the southern half of the region, and even over western and northern areas with the dry weather we've seen. ERCs are climbing and above the 80th percentile in many spots. Looking at some of our ERC charts, you can see how far above normal ERCs continue to be over southern areas of the Great Basin with the lack of monsoon moisture. And over western and northern areas, now ERCs are above normal across much of the region. Looking at the satellite image from this morning, we do have low pressure off the west coast with high pressure in the southwest and moisture rotating around these areas. You can see a band of moisture over western and central Nevada. This cloud cover will limit heating early today over the Sierra front, but we will likely see heating later in the afternoon, enough for some isolated thunderstorms. Looking at the weather pattern for later today, again, the moisture mainly over the western side of the Great Basin. We don't have any high risk issued, as it looks like right now thunderstorms will be isolated and have possibly some rainfall or be a mix along the Sierra front today. But you can see the breezy and dry conditions up north. Relative humidity will remain in the single digits to low teens across the Great Basin. And then you can see in the weather image on the right where those thunderstorms are expected along the Sierra front later this afternoon and this evening. As we move into Saturday, we get a little bit more moisture to push north over northwest and western Nevada. So we did expand our lightning threat across the western side and northwest side of the state. We will likely see more coverage tomorrow and also those thunderstorms pushing north towards the Oregon border. Otherwise, dry conditions will continue across the Great Basin and winds will weaken across Idaho. Relative humidity remaining again in the single digits to low teens, and you can see in the weather image on the right where those thunderstorms may possibly develop on Saturday. Again, wetter storms a little bit further south on Saturday and a mix of wet and dry further north, or storms on the drier side as you get towards the Oregon border. So certainly these thunderstorms will be a threat to ongoing incidents, and we also could see some pretty strong gusty outflow winds tomorrow from these storms. On Sunday, that moisture pushes north into Oregon, but still continues to remain in place over the western side of Nevada. So we continue the high risk. Again, lightning coverage is a little questionable along with the storm motion and the amount of moisture. We could see a little bit more rainfall in some of these spots, but we'll continue to watch that as lightning develops this weekend. Relative humidity increases a little bit along the front on Sunday, but still remains in the single digits to low teens. And on Sunday, we will see those thunderstorms, again, start to develop a little bit further north into Oregon. We may also see some isolated activity develop over central and northern Nevada, which would likely be on the drier side. Also, temperatures will be climbing as we move through the weekend. We'll likely see many valleys near or above 100 degrees over much of Nevada and Utah, and above 110 to 115 over far southern areas. So very hot temperatures as we get later in the weekend, and also these temperatures will be near record-setting temperatures. Forecast amounts of precipitation over the next few days, very isolated precipitation. Again, not expecting a whole lot of moisture with these thunderstorms, but we'll continue to watch that. The better chances of some rainfall would be in the higher terrain of the Sierra. As we move into Monday, that strong high pressure still in place across the Great Basin, again keeping those temperatures very hot and near record setting. That moisture will continue to skirt around the west side of the ridge up western and northwest Nevada and possibly up into western Idaho. So we did push that high risk a little bit further north and east on Monday. And then as we get into Tuesday, that moisture starts to rotate around the north side of the ridge, again, pushing those thunderstorms or keeping them over northwest Nevada and up into Idaho. We'll continue to watch the central mountains as we get into Tuesday, but right now it looks like still the southern and eastern areas of the Great Basin under this high pressure will remain dry through early next week and just very hot with low relative humidity. We might see some thunderstorms also start to develop into the Uintas as that moisture wraps around the north side of the high. On Wednesday is where that moisture really may start to settle in beneath the ridge across the Great Basin, so we may start to see a little bit more lightning activity into parts of eastern Nevada and parts of Utah towards the middle of the week. And then on Thursday, again, that weak moisture remains in place, so we'll be watching for the lightning development as we get towards the middle of the week. We'll also be watching this tropical feature now developing off of the Mexican coast as we move towards mid to late week. That feature will continue tracking northwest and potentially push some deeper moisture into the southern half of the Great Basin as we move later in the week. So again, we'll be watching that for any potential relief to our significant fire danger in the southern areas. 7-day total precip still fairly sparse as that moisture really doesn't make its way up this far north, so any thunderstorm activity will likely only produce spotty light precipitation. However, the 8 to 14-day outlook, again taking us later in August from the 21st through the 27th, you can see still warm temperatures, but again, finally showing possibly some moisture moving up from that tropical feature into the Great Basin, so we could actually see some areas get some wetting rains. But again, we'll continue to watch that and see how that evolves over the next 10 days. That concludes our webcast for today. Check back tomorrow for the latest updates.